My name is Vrajendra Kumar. I come from Russia, and tonight I was asked to give a class here. So I'll try to do my best. English is not my native talk, so please bear with me if I make a mistake. For my topic, I chose a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 14, which is called Ideal Family Life, and verse number 5. I chose this verse because I was asked to, speak on the topic of combining material and spiritual life. How people who have families and some business, have a job, how do they combine their material duties and spiritual duties. So for that purpose, I decided to choose this verse. So once again, Canto number 7, chapter 14, verse number 5. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Yavad Agham Upasino Dehi Gehi Chapandita Rakta Rakta Latta Kran Viloke Naratam Yaset. Translation. While working to earn his livelihood as much as necessary to maintain body and soul together, one who is actually learning should live in human society unattached to family affairs, although externally appearing very much attached. Purport. This is a picture of ideal family life. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Rai about the goal of life, Ramananda Rai described it in different ways according to the recommendations of the revealed scriptures. And finally, Sri Ramananda Rai explained that one might stay in his own position, whether as a brahmana, Shudra, a sannyasi, or whatever, but one must try to inquire about life's goal, Adhato Brahma Jigyasa. This is a proper utilization of the human form of life. When one misuses the gift of the human form by unnecessarily indulging in the animal propensities of feeding, sleeping, mating, and defending, and does not try to get out of the clutches of Maya, which subjects one to repeated birth, death, old age, and disease, one is again punished by being forced to descend to the lowest species and undergo evolution according to the laws of nature. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha. Being completely under the grip of material nature, the living entity must evolve again from lower species to the higher species until he at last returns to human life and gets a chance to be freed from the material clutches. A wise man, however, learns from the Shastras and Guru that we living entities are all eternal, but are put in the troublesome conditions because of association with different modes under the laws of material nature. He therefore concludes that in the human form of life he should not endeavor for unnecessary necessities, but should live in a very simple life and just maintain body and soul together. Certainly, one requires some means of livelihood, and according to one's Varna and Ashrama, this means of livelihood is prescribed in the Shastras. One should be satisfied with this. Therefore, instead of hankering for more and more money, a sincere devotee of the Lord tries to invent some ways to earn his livelihood, and when he does so, Krishna helps him. Earning one's livelihood, therefore, is not a problem. The real problem is how to get free from the bondage of birth, death, and old age. Attaining this freedom and not inventing unnecessary necessities is a basic principle of Vedic civilization. One should be satisfied with whatever means of life comes automatically. The modern materialistic civilization is just the opposite of the ideal civilization. Every day, the so-called leaders of modern society invent something contributing to the cumbersome way of life that implicates people more and more in the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. Yavadartham upasinom dehi gehi cha pandita virakta rakta tatra riloke naratam nyaset. While working to earn his livelihood as much as necessary to maintain body and soul together, one who is actually learning should live in a human society unattached to family affairs, although externally appearing very much attached. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakayam Chakshuru Militamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Statitamena Bhutale Swayam Urva Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancharakalpatarudhyashcham Kripasinubhyabhyavacham Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Rasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Tishtaya Parikshimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shanevani Tashtya Desha So, the place we are in, the material world, is a combination of spiritual energy and material energy. In the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verses from 4 till 6, Krishna describes that. He said that there are 8 elements of material nature, like earth, water, fire, air, and ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. These are 8 elements which constitute separated energies. Bhinna Prakriti Ashtadha, Krishna explains. So Bhinna means separated from Krishna. And he said in the next verse that apart from these 8 elements, there is one more element, which is Jiva Shakti. It's a consciousness, which is using the facilities of this material world just to enjoy and exploit. And in this way, by their desires, living entities, they maintain the universe. Actually, Krishna is maintaining it, but for us, because we got these material desires. So we got stuck here, and Krishna is, keeping these facilities for us. And then the verse number 6 of the same 7th chapter, Krishna concludes this. Whatever exists in this world is a combination of matter and spirit. So, since this is the world of duality, we can, gravitate towards material nature or towards spiritual nature, depending on our desires. And in the material world, generally people tend to gravitate, to drift in the direction of material energy. That's the natural position. Because actually they came to this material world to fulfill their material desires. But some fortunate jivas, those who got in touch with spiritual master, with Krishna, with spiritual life, so-called Bhagyavan Jiva, means fortunate soul, they got in touch with spiritual energy, and in this way they got some strengths to counteract this influence of material energy. So spirit soul, it belongs to the higher energy, but since it's very tiny, it has a tendency to become covered over by this material nature. And in this way, Jiva becomes conditioned and becomes so-called materialist. Materialist is a person with materialistic values. It means that this kind of person spends his life, his time, his energy just to increase the life facilities, just to develop and improve the comforts for the body. That's constitutes the life of materialist. And if you don't have enough connection with Krishna, then people tend to go deeper and deeper into the conditioned life, and they can even go to the lowest pieces of life. And out of 4 ashramas, grihastha life is, we can say, is more conditioned, because other people like brahmacharis, vanaprasthas, sannyasis, they are not engaged in any economical activities. They just do their spiritual sadhana. And they're pretty happy with that simple livelihood they just get by begging. That's a life of renunciance. But those people who are in grihastha life, they have more contacts with material nature because they have more necessities. They have families. Moreover, grihastha ashram maintains not only their families, but the grihastha ashram also maintains 3 other ashrams. Because brahmacharis, vanaprasthas, sannyasis, they don't make any money. So they are professional beggars. But it's natural because they're doing spiritual activities, and they, we can say, maintain spiritual values in the society. That's why they have a right to beg, because they're doing some important spiritual job. That's why they have a right to beg. And grihasthas who are more merged into material life, they have to maintain those people who are trying to preach the spiritual values, spiritual purpose of life. So charity is one of the most important duties for the householders, because otherwise, if grihasthas don't give in charity, they tend to become greedy, which is counterproductive for spiritual life. Because ultimately, spiritual life means to surrender to Krishna, completely, just atmanivedana, to give your own soul to Krishna. That's you can say, the topmost perfection of spiritual life. But before we can give ourselves, we have to be able to give something from our surroundings. It's easier just to give some money than myself. So people have to become accustomed to giving something away. That's why grihasthas, they tend to accumulate things. And to counteract this tendency, Shastras say that they have to give in charity. That's the only way to counteract this greedy tendency to become greedy. And another important point from that verse is that grihastha should be satisfied with whatever comes naturally. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yadrichha labha santushta. It means that he is santushta, means fully satisfied with whatever comes naturally. Labha means some gain, whatever comes into your life, yadrichha, in its own way, on its own accord, very easily, without much effort. And in this purpose, Srila Prabhupada also mentioned that modern civilization is quite the opposite of what it should be. Because real civilization means that people understand the spirit soul and they mold their life in such a way so that spiritual values they become their priority. It's like first priority, primary thing in the life. But modern civilization is that people become materialistic. It means that spiritual life is more or less like hobby for them, and priority is material advancement, material facilities like that. Life of Grihastha should be molded in such a way that naturally he takes care of his relatives, his family members, he takes care of his children, he maintains them, for 20, 30 years, whatever. There are different situations for different people. But he should understand that sooner or later, because it's, you can say, a natural way of events, time is passing and he gets older. And one day he will not be able to work anymore and there should be some other engagement for him. So spiritual life means that devotee at any stage of life should give some time to the spiritual advancement, to spiritual development. Everybody has 24 hours in a day. Nobody has more or less. Everybody has 24 hours. But some people say, we don't have time to spiritual life, just no time. But everybody has 24 hours. It means that they just spending it for something else, that's all. Why do we choose one thing or another? That's because of our value system. We make our choices based on our value system. Whatever we consider the most important for us, for that we find time. And whatever is not so important for us, we say, sorry, no time. So it's just a value system. And our value system is created by our, we can say, association. If we associate with people with materialistic value, naturally we also tend to imbibe this kind of values and we become materialists ourselves. But if we, by good fortune, get in touch with some person who has some spiritual values in his life, and we start to listen to him, then our value system may change. And in this way, we can find some time. We can sleep less, eat less, watch TV less, and in this way we can get some time for Krishna. 10 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, depending on how busy you are, how healthy you are, depending on our material situation. But still, anybody can find some time for Krishna, because ultimately Krishna is time. He says, "Time I am." Calls me, time I am. So we can, if he is time, then we have to find some time for him. It's logical, it's natural. Otherwise, we spend time for something else and just disregarding Krishna. And Krishna is the topmost value, because whatever value things have, this value comes from Krishna. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, "Dhatunam asmi kanchanam." It means, out of all metals, I am gold. Why people are greedy for gold? Because it's Krishna, ultimately. That's his vibhuti. That's his vibhuti. Vibhuti means greatness. That's his greatness. So, consciously or unconsciously, people are attracted to Krishna. And by spiritual knowledge, we can become awakened, and we can really see that whatever values we are, hankering after in this world, they are ultimately Krishna. We know that there are 6 opulences of Bhagavan: complete power, complete wealth, complete knowledge, complete beauty, complete fame, and complete renunciation. So whatever you may be interested in, it's just little fraction of Krishna, just little particle of Krishna. His little amsha means particle. As he says in Bhagavad Gita, ekam shenastito jagat, So jagat means universe. And he said that I maintain this universe just by one little fraction of my energy. Eka amsha means one little part. Ekam shenastito jagat. Sthito means he is maintaining. So whatever we may become attracted in this world is ultimately Krishna. But under the influence of Maya, we tend to forget it. So spiritual knowledge, spiritual master, the system of parampara, are those people who are in renounced order of life, and they have a duty to remind us about that. Because material life, it engages us in so many different duties, so we just tend to forget about it altogether. And another problem of materialistic life and grihastha life is that people tend to over-endeavor. This is called prayasa in Sanskrit. And prayasa means that we work so much that we practically don't have any time for spiritual life. And prayasa is one reason of destroying bhakti. Rupa Goswami in Sri Padishamrita means the nectar of instruction, he says, there are 6 things which nourish our bhakti, and there are 6 things which destroy our bhakti. And Shadbir Bhakti Vinashyati, so there are 6 things which can destroy our bhakti completely. And it starts from, Atyahara, Prayasa, Jalpa, Niyamagraha, Janasanga, Shalovlicha, Shadbir Bhakti Vinashyati. So, Atyahara means, accumulating more wealth than necessary. Atyahara also means overeating, because ahara means food, and atyahara means too much food. we can't digest it, atyahara. Prayasa means too much endeavoring for material things. And recently I was listening to one lecture of Srila Prabhupada, and he made a very amazing statement. He said that actually, he said in the Vedic civilization, people used to work for maybe 4 months a year. And for 8 months, they just spent for spiritual advancement. that's a real civilization. But if you look around now, what we see, people hardly have 2 weeks for a year, during the year just for their vacation. Some people even have less. They're working day and night. So it's a total prayasa, and it's difficult to expect, some dynamic spiritual advancement in a civilization like this. So when devotee finds himself in that kind of civilization, he should, think about it. He should reevaluate the values in his heart, and try to find some time for Krishna, because ultimately it's in his own interest. That's his real artha. As Srimad Bhagavatam states, Nati viduk svartha gatim hi Vishnu. People in this world, they don't know that their primary interest is just to serve Vishnu. Nati viduk, they don't know svartha. Svartha means their own interest. Vishnu, Supreme Lord. So people in this material world, they are so much conditioned that they don't see and don't understand things which are obvious actually, if you got spiritual knowledge. Spiritual vision, or we can say Shastra Chakshu, vision through the eyes of Shastra. It's a particular kind of vision which wakes us up. It's like Jagriti. Jagriti means waking up. There are 3 modes, as we know, 3 gunas of material nature, and a mode of ignorance, tamaguna, it is connected with such a state of consciousness which is called sushupti. Sushupti means deep sleep. We exist, but we are sleeping so deep that we don't even understand that we exist. It's like plants or some tiny living entities which consciousness is just practically nil, we can say. That's sushupti, total ignorance. Other living entities, they are which are moving. It means that they are under some influence of the mode of passion, because passion means moving around. And their state of consciousness is called swapna. Swapna means dreaming. They are sleeping and dreaming. So they got some idea of themselves, but it's faulty idea. Because in the sleep, we generally take some, different identity from which is real. So that's rajas. And mode of goodness, it is connected with a state of consciousness which is called jagriti. Jagriti means waking up. When the devotee gets in touch with spiritual master, with Krishna, with this literature, with the tradition, with the spiritual power of parampara, spiritual tradition, then he wakes up under this influence. And the main thing is not to fall asleep again, because there's a tendency to fall asleep again. So if you woke up in the morning, You may say, well, yes, I had a dream, but it was all illusion. But if you don't get out of the bed, and if you woke up but you still stay in bed, there is a chance that you can fall asleep again. So mode of goodness is good, but it's not enough. You have to awaken, but then you have to get out of the bed and engage in some real activity of your real identity. That means spiritual practice. There is spiritual knowledge and spiritual practice. Spiritual practice means that we take this knowledge and apply it in practice. So Krishna doesn't endorse prayasa so much, and he said that we have to find sufficient time to somehow nourish the soul. As we know, we have three bodies: physical body, mental body, you can say subtle body, or mind, intelligence, and false ego, and spiritual body. And each of these bodies requires some food. So we take some physical food 2-3 times a day. We get some mental food, because what is the food for our mind? Some emotions, some ideas, some, we can say, creative activities, like, everybody likes to do something, to create something, whatever it is, housewife, she can cook something in the kitchen, that's her creative ability. Somebody may draw, somebody may sing, somebody may do something. So there are three necessities of this subtle body: the ideas. We need to know what are the news. People are watching TV or they're reading from internet. They need some ideas. They exchange something in the social network. They post different information, video, audio, anything. So they require some information, some knowledge. They require some emotional exchange and some creativity. That's the food for the mental body. And there is also food for the soul. So what is food for the body? We more or less know. Fats, proteins, amino acids. That's the food for our physical body. Information, emotions, creativity is the food for our mental body. And what is the food for the soul? We don't know. Where is the shop to buy food for the soul? So it's spiritual knowledge. We start nourishing the soul from the spiritual knowledge, and it's the first process of devotional service, Shravana. Shravana means hearing, because hearing is a process which starts the whole thing, the whole devotional service. It starts Shravana, Kirtana, Vishnu Smarana, Pada Seva, So that's why Vedas originally are called Shruti, that which is heard by somebody. Because in previous times when there were no books, solid printed books, there were no there, and tradition was going on just by the perception, by hearing. The Guru was speaking, and the disciple was listening. And amazingly, when we hear, then we can repeat what we heard. So Shravanam gives rise to Kirtanam. And when we do Shravanam, Kirtanam on the regular basis, then Smaranam develops. Smaranam means ability to remember. And it is most important because Krishna says, if you remember me in the time of death, then Janma Karma Chimedivyam Ramiviti Tatvadaha Tyaktva Deha, by giving up this body, Punar Janma Naiti, you will not get birth again. You will not get it. So it's very essential to remember Krishna, and it is not possible if you are not doing Shravana Kirtana. So these are, we can say, the easiest process, Shravana Kirtana, because you can do it even while you are driving, or doing something else. You can't worship the deity while you are driving. It's impossible. But you can hear your lecture, you can chant the holy names, while doing something else. So since people are very much busy in Kali Yuga, they don't have much time, so the process is very easy. So if you are hearing on a regular basis, it keeps us in the good shape, because hearing we can say inspires us to chant. If you lose a taste for chanting, it means there's not enough hearing. There is only one, we can say, diagnosis. If you lose touch with the hearing process, then one by one other processes will just fade away. So if a person stops chanting, if he stops reading, if he stops remembering Krishna, it means only one thing. His hearing process became very, very weak. So that's why actually Krishna, Srila Prabhupada established temples, and in the temples he established morning evening program. There's Srimad Bhagavatam here, and Bhagavad Gita here, Kirtan like that. So even if you can't come to the temple every day, we can do it with the internet, modern technologies. They allow so many different seminars, lectures, kirtans in the internet. And we can get it from anywhere. It's like a siddha. In Kali Yuga, this internet it just gives us a lot of siddhis. you can extract anything from space. Like these yogis, prapti siddhi. In previous times they can produce. They can get some apple from another planet. So by the help of internet, we are all becoming siddhi now. If you just get connected, okay, you can get anything from any place. So we can take advantage of that, and it can, even if we are busy, at least we can hear every day some lecture of Srila Prabhupada or the spiritual master, anybody. And by Shravanam, other processes become awakened, and we can maintain some enthusiasm in spiritual life. And the main thing is that by this hearing process, our value system becomes purified. Because originally it's Krishna inside. He says, "Sarvasya chaham hriti sanivishto matah smritir gyan matohanam chahi." He said that I am situated in everyone's heart. It means in everyone's, no exceptions. So Krishna is in everyone's heart. But how much do we remember about it? We practically don't remember about it. So the most important value is inside us, and we are looking for that outside. That's a symptom of the mode of passion. Passion means that I cannot find happiness inside myself. Passion means happiness is somewhere outside. I have to go there to find my happiness. Srimad Bhagavatam 11th Canto gives one interesting analogy. It tells a story about the musk deer. It's a deer in the forest which has this musk gland, which produces this musk, very fragrant substance, which is used in this, making perfumes. And this aroma of this musk is so strong, and the deer is starting to look for the source of that aroma. He's wandering throughout the forest, not realizing that he himself is the source of that musk. So in this way, we are looking for happiness, because happiness is inside. It's inside. But modern civilization doesn't have a recipe how to find this happiness inside. We know that modern civilization is famous for making this outside enjoyment. Disneyland, some amusement parks, or anything which is taking place outside, and people are going there, paying money, and so all the enjoyment is outside. They have to go somewhere, theater, cinema, whatever, any other place. But as far as we know, in the Vedic civilization, people had access to their internal happiness. That is called Atmarama. Atmarama means the Atma, or soul, which is happy just by itself. By itself. So because Atma is a part of Paramatma. Krishna is always happy. He has a nature of Ananda. And we are his particles. It means that we also can be happy, but in touch with him. So by the process of devotional service, we can touch with him and get this internal happiness. Actually, this is we can say the basis of formula that Prabhupada gave are simple living and high thinking. This high thinking means that the person is satisfied inside himself. And that's why he doesn't make his external life too complicated. But if this high thinking is not there, and the person cannot find happiness inside himself, then as a compensation for that, he has to go out and develop this external civilization. That's the process which is taking place now. So, and people of the modern civilization, they become hostages to this way of life. They are taken hostages. They are not free. Because the modern civilization is a very subtle, we can say, intricate system of slavery. If you don't have some money, okay, the bank, you can take some money from us, and this way you become our slave for many, many years, maybe for many decades even. And people who are under the influence of the mode of passion, they tend to make these mistakes. And when they just, become members of this slavery system, then they say, no time for Krishna, sorry. We have to work like asses day and night. That's a problem. But still, anyway, if we are fortunate souls, and we are fortunate souls because we got in touch with Krishna by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya, it means that Krishna already gave us some chance. And it means that if we are able to start, then we are able to continue. So otherwise, Krishna wouldn't, give us any clue. So he gave us this possibility, and we just have to somehow sort our value system out and understand what is primary in our life and what is secondary. And as we understand primary things, they are connected to the soul, because soul is our true self. So whatever is eternal, it is primary. Whatever is temporary, this is secondary. But unfortunately, people of the modern age, they tend to give priority to secondary things. And they tend to reject, or we can say, reject and neglect primary things. That's the misfortune. Manta sumanta matayo manta bhagya. That's a misfortune of people in Kali Yuga. People are lazy, people are dull, people are short-sighted. And their intelligence is not sharp enough to distinguish, to tell what is primary and what is secondary. That's a misfortune. We can say that their intelligence lets them down, and their senses and their mind, although it's lower than intelligence, it becomes higher. So intelligence is much closer to the soul than external senses and mind, but somehow nowadays intelligence became servant of senses and mind. And this can be changed. That's our choice, actually. And those people who are in family life, in grihastha life, apart from their material duties, they have this spiritual duty as well. And actually, if you open Manu Samhita, Manu Smriti, it's a first constitution for humankind, Manu Smriti. It says that the grihastha's first primary duty is Deva Yagya. That means the worship of the Lord. That's the first. Because whatever facilities grihastha has, he gets it by the mercy of the Lord anyway. He may think that he just earned it by his hard labor with his hands, but actually of course he did some efforts, but ultimately it is given by the Lord. So his first duty is Deva Yagya. No matter how busy he is. That's why even now in India we can see in the shops that they have little altar, somebody, some Lakshmi Devi or Ganesh, no matter who, whoever they worship, but they understand that they are dependent on some higher source, some higher energy, some higher Lord, whatever it may be, depending on their faith, their level of understanding. That's why, when they, open the shop, first they do, this little puja, and then they start, their activity, because they understand that, no matter how much endeavor they pay, ultimately, their success depends on the Lord. In the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna lists five elements of activity. And he said that first is a doer. Doer itself, it's a soul, source of energy, the doer. Then the field of activity. Then different instruments, like our senses, hands, or whatever you are working with. Then cheshta means endeavor, and ultimately daiva. Daiva means paramatma, the will of the Lord. And he said that those people who don't consider all 5 elements of activity, they lost touch with reality. That's why those people who are wise, or at least they have some spiritual maturity, at least to some degree, they understand that no matter in which condition they are, their first priority is to worship the Lord. So in this way, even they are working inside the material world, they still, have some time and have some remembrance of the Lord. As Krishna tells Arjuna in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Tasmat sarveshu kalishu mam anusmara yudhyacha. Wherever you may be, whatever you may do, Tasmat sarveshu kalishu means at any time, sarveshu kalishu, mam anusmara, remember me, and yudhyacha, and act, and be busy. Yudhyacha literally means fight, because Arjuna, he was a warrior, he was a fighter. So it means that even Arjuna, who was fighting, and fighting is not a very, I would say, spiritualized activity. It's very passionate and ignorant activity, because you have to kill somebody. It's a very we can say destructive activity. Still, even doing that, he was able to remember Krishna. Tasmat sarveshu kalishu mama nusmara yudhyacha. And in order to remember Krishna, mama nusmara, first you have to do this shravanam. Without Shravanam, there is no Kirtanam. Without Shravanam, Kirtanam, there is no Smaranam. Without Smaranam, Vishnu Smaranam, without that, there is no hope for us. We just, Mrityu Samsara Vartmani, again and again, we dive into this, ocean of birth and death. Mrityu Samsara Vartmani. So, if we want to cross over this ocean of material nishanas, material sufferings, material grief, we have to somehow embark on this boat of transcendental knowledge. Krishna in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita says, Jnana Plavena. Jnana Plavena means the boat of transcendental knowledge. And he said that if you get on board of this transcendental knowledge, then you can cross the ocean of material suffering. So those who are swimming in the ocean just by themselves, they are in the ocean. And those who are on the boat, they're also in the ocean, but they're in different conditions. Those who are just by themselves, they eventually get drowned. And those who are also in the ocean, but on the boat, they're in the safe position. Everybody's in the ocean of material nations. But some people, they took shelter of this Jnana Plavena, the boat of transcendental knowledge. And some people, they're just, trying by their efforts to somehow, solve all their problems. And Prabhupada said that no matter how able swimmer you are in the ocean, you don't have any chance. Sooner or later, you'll get drowned. And also, those people who are worshipping demigods, they have no chance to cross over this ocean. The Shastra give a very interesting example. They say you can't cross the ocean just holding by the tail of the dog, because dog can swim, but not so much. And eventually, and dog and the person who took shelter of the dog, they will all drown. So everybody is looking for shelter because we are tiny living entities, and tiny living entities they tend to look for some shelter. Children they take shelter of parents. People who are weak, they are trying to take shelter of those who are strong. So in a natural way, Jiva is trying to find somebody who is great, who can really give shelter. And that's why Krishna says, I am the only shelter. Mam ekam sharanam vrajam. You just have to take shelter of me alone. Nobody else can give you shelter. And so if you are always connected, if you are always keeping this connection with Krishna through the process of hearing, then we have a very good chance to somehow keep the Maya on some distance. But if we, somehow lose this chance, if we don't listen to Krishna, if you break this process of hearing, Shravanam, then all our spiritual consciousness becomes weaker and weaker, and ultimately, we lose our enthusiasm, everything fades away. In this way, we lose faith, we again develop some material taste. So, not to get into all this stuff again, we need this very simple recipe to be enlivened every day through the process of hearing. And anybody can do it. Brahmacharis may do it in the temple. Grihastas can do it, while he's driving his job or some other time. For example, every morning when I'm doing, some exercises, little yoga for my health, I switch on Srila Prabhupada's lectures, and for 30-40 minutes, I'm doing my exercise and I listen to that. So we can say we can combine things, if you're too busy. So anybody can find time for that because it's ultimately in our own interest. Hare Krishna, we can stop here and we have 10-15 minutes for some discussion, questions and answers.
I have some question. For instance, if I'm doing some job that is in the material world, and to me it's a boring job, it's just something that helps me to pay my bills. It's not a creative job. I'm not a scientist or just painter or something that I can do for Krishna. How I can dedicate this work to Krishna? Maybe he doesn't need it.
Okay, how can I dedicate my work to Krishna? Maybe he doesn't need it, because if my work is not very creative, it's not very spiritual, it's just a means of livelihood, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna described all four varnas, we can say all four main occupations, he said that now I will tell you how you can attain me just by performing your prescribed duties. And he said that you should understand that your occupational duties, no matter how boring it is, it was given by me. So take it as Krishna's task. He personally gave it to you. Because we choose our job, our occupation on the basis of guna karma. Guna karma means our, we can say, psychophysical nature. We are born with it. It's, we can say it's a result of our previous life. Whatever was a result. So we are born in a particular condition in this life. And somehow we feel a tendency to be engaged in this kind of activity or that kind of activity. And this is defined by this guna karma. It's our nature. It's a special combination of modes, gunas, which pushes us in a certain direction, and we choose a job according to our nature. So this nature was given to you by Krishna. It means that Krishna expects something from you. Although it's not very spiritual, but still you got some responsibility, you're doing something, and other people, they depend on you. Like, anybody, taxi driver, he is doing some social service. And, people who don't have their private cars or, in the center of the city where so many, other things, he can just, find and get a taxi and go somewhere. So we can say it's just a mundane job, but he is doing some service. And this service was given to him by Krishna. So what is lacking? Our understanding, our connection. This job was given to us by Krishna himself. Because Varna Ashrama, it's a social system which is another body of Krishna. Krishna has many bodies, universal form. Like Brahma Loka is his head, Patala Loka his feet. There's Bhur Loka. This our earth is like his waist, like that. So everybody is Krishna's form. Cosmos, universe is Krishna's form, and society is also Krishna's form. He says, Brahmanas are my head, Kshatriyas are my hands, Vaishyas are my belly, and Shudras are my legs. So suppose we are Shudras, and we are doing, some service, we can say some shop assistant, no matter what, or taxi driver. So you're doing any kind of activity, and when you understand through the Krishna consciousness, and you see the connection, that I am doing some social job which may not be directly connected to Krishna. I am not a pujari who stands on the altar just offering some puja. I am just, some simple person. I'm cleaning, in the street. So, but I was put in this position by Krishna's will. It means Krishna expects something from me. So just by connecting Krishna Sambandha, connection with Krishna, Krishna says any job should be performed as a sacrifice for me. Otherwise, it becomes a source of bondage in this material world. It's Bhagavad Gita chapter 3, verse 9. So any job, he says, any. He doesn't say only pujari, only brahman. No, he says any job should be done as a sacrifice for me. So Krishna consciousness is a universal method. Sometimes we think that to be in Krishna consciousness means just to sit in the temple room and chant japa and go around Tulsi. Well, it's good. It's we can say intense sadhana. But we need it as well. But not so many people can do it every day, right? But everybody is doing something every day. What is lacking? Connection to Krishna. That's why by the process of hearing, once again I stress the importance of hearing. By hearing, we can understand that no matter where we are, no matter what we do, we are always connected to Krishna. But we are not always conscious of that fact. So by the process of hearing, we can revive our understanding that this Varnashrama or body, you can say social body, social organism, it is also Krishna. It's also one of the bodies of Krishna. Brahmanas, his head. So maybe we are not Brahmanas, maybe we are his feet, but still it's a part of Krishna. And actually, maybe to some Shudras, to people who are serving, it's even easier to accept devotional service because they are serving already. They are already serving. They are already in the humble position. So it's much easier for them to accept devotional service. For those people who are, big bosses, it's much more difficult for them to become humble servants of Krishna because their false ego is too big. And those people who have, humble position in society, well, from the material position, maybe it's not so great, it's not so prestigious, but from the spiritual point of view, it's a very advantageous position, actually. Anything else?
If I do my charity regularly, but a little amount of money, and I know that my charity should be at least 10% of my income, but I'm afraid if I will increase my charity, I will stay without my money. Is it just a greediness, or just maybe it's a kind of another problem?
Did everybody hear what she asked?
No.
She asked that I mentioned in the class that one of the primary duties of grihastas is to give in charity, to give some donation. And she said that if my income is small, very humble income, and she thinks that if I give some more charity, then I myself go without money. She's asking, is it just some fear or misunderstanding? Yes, it's a lack of knowledge. Yeah. Because actually, again, if you ask Manu Samhita, if you want to be wealthy, you have to give in charity. Because, in Vedic astrology, there is one interesting thing which gives us, proper understanding how our charity is connected with our income. It's like a chart, astrological chart. And 11th house, it's called Labha Bhava. Labha means what I get, gain. And the 12th is Vyaya Bhava, means what you lose, or what you give away, or charity. But according to the rules of Vedic astrology, every next house maintains the previous house. It's like a food for previous house. So Vyaya means whatever you give away, or charity, 12th house, is actually nourishing the 11th house, Labha. So if you want to get something, give something away. Don't be afraid. But lack of faith, lack of understanding, lack of culture of this charity, it makes us a bit suspicious, or we say, well, maybe if I give too much. Manu says, don't be afraid. Srimad Bhagavatam says that whatever you give away to the person who is equal to you will return to you in the same amount. If you give something to the person who is more advanced than you, then you will get back, maybe 10 times more, depending on how much advanced that person is that you gave charity to. So it's a very subtle mechanism, but it works. It works. But our materialistic set of mind, it gives rise to doubts. And doubt means not enough knowledge. In the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said that knowledge destroys doubt. And if you got some doubt, it means just a lack of knowledge, that's all. You can try it on a small scale and see how it works.
But does it mean that charity is only to give money?
No. Charity means to give anything. If you don't have money, you can give some time. To be, you can come to the temple and do some service here, or anything. So whatever you give away, time, money, some possessions. Actually, Krishna says that there are different kinds of yagyas. We can divide them into two main categories: Dravya yagya and Jnana yagya. And in the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Jnana yagya is much better than Dravya yagya. Dravya yagya means to offer some material possessions, including money. But Jnana yagya means to, we can say, give your mind or intelligence in charity to Krishna. It means when you give some time to study Shastras, that's your Jnana yagya. And the very end of Bhagavad Gita, and maybe the ending verses of 18th chapter, Krishna said that I declare, he said that those who study our holy dialogue, this Bhagavad Gita, he is worshipping me with his intelligence, and he is using this word Jnana yagya. And he said it's at the topmost yagya actually. So Dravya yagya is for those who have some material resources. If you don't have any material resources, you can, give some time in charity, or at least you can, engage your mind in studying knowledge. Again, this hearing process, that's actually Jnana yagya. Because Krishna said that the purpose of all yagyas is to get transcendental knowledge. Because when a person gives something away, he becomes less egoistic, and the knowledge from the heart becomes disclosed. So even when you give away something material, the purpose of that is just to open your heart, to make your heart receptive to spiritual knowledge. That's why he said that Jnana yagya is higher than Dravya yagya. Those people who are very much materially conditioned, they're not very receptive to material knowledge, to spiritual knowledge. I'm sorry. That's why they are advised, to start with charity. Thus, their heart becomes open for knowledge. Okay, thank you very much. We can end here.